Oh dear, we are talking relationship breakups today. Hi, it's Jen here, the editor of menPsyche.com, discussing questions and answers from our audience. And the universal problem today, universal experience for many people, is a relationship breakup, and just discussing some of our audience's solutions and answers to this extremely common problem, this extremely distressing problem for many people. And we had some great responses. So firstly, going to a great answer, I thought, which was to remove reminders. So they suggested removing reminders of the relationship. Now, this can be very difficult to do because you are, depending on how the relationship ended, you may be very attached to that relationship and you are not accepting reality and do not want it to be over. So removing reminders and things such as photographs, social media accounts, perhaps emails and letters, all sorts of things, even physical objects that you still have from the person, to actually remove those reminders because it's keeping you in the relationship which has ended. It's keeping you attached to something which isn't there anymore. And it keeps you in the rumination cycle. So this particular response I thought was a very practical answer for people, because what happens is sometimes you can get caught up in a lot of theories and a lot of suggestions about how to overcome a breakup, but this was an actual practical response relating to an action that you can take. So removing reminders, if this is a problem for you, remove photographs, remove physical objects, remove correspondence. Literally, your mind will be off those topics and you can find yourself freeing up some space to think about other things. So a very practical option, I thought there, a very practical response. Thank you for that. The second one that was also, I thought, quite a practical response to a relationship breakup was to fill something with the gap that you now have. So we're talking about distraction. So a little bit along the same lines as removing reminders, but this one was more related to some action you can take in regards to yourself. So filling the gap with perhaps a hobby, something you might not have thought of, and you might not be in the mood to do something like this. So the hobby may not be necessarily taking a lot of energy. It could just be something like doing some personal research, reading a book, something that doesn't take too much bandwidth. Distraction could also be starting a business, helping other people, just to get yourself out of your own situation, out of your own head, out of your own worries, setting up a support group or situation where you can help other people, maybe a nice distraction for some people. Filling it up with your health, cooking for yourself, starting to run, starting to go to the gym, playing a sport, something that is distracting you from the memories and distracting you from the history, but in a positive way. So distracting you in the sense of you're moving on with your life, even though it's still painful, but you're putting your energy into yourself. So another good response, I thought. The third one that I thought was worth mentioning today was someone mentioned to try and practice indifference. Now, this is not easy to do. So the reader was suggesting to consciously practice indifference rather than waiting to become indifferent. Over many years that could take for you to become indifferent to the other person that was in your life. Actually practice the indifference, actually practice not caring, practice thinking about other things. Every time a thought comes into your mind, consciously try and practice putting something else in its place. So practicing indifference is not an easy thing to do because you're asking yourself to not care about something that you care about. However, after you do it a few times, so when the thought comes into your mind, remove that thought and replace it with something to do with yourself. the indifference may slowly start to creep in and become more natural and more organic rather than you contriving the indifference. After some time, you may find that you actually start to realise that you can exist perfectly fine without that relationship. While it was still hurtful and you still miss it, you are still functioning, and the longer you go without that relationship, you might realise that in fact you might care about the relationship, however you care about yourself more, and moving on and surviving and finding someone new or finding something else in your life is actually one way to become indifferent to the situation. You do not wish any harm on anyone, and you do not wish the person well necessarily. However, you are not worried about the outcome of that person in any way. So you are indifferent to that person and that situation. And this obviously relates to a scenario where there was some animosity perhaps in the breakup. So not everyone's like that. Some people have amicable breakups, however, they're still in pain. So every relationship is different, every response is different, but these responses I thought were mostly practical and quite useful. I will leave today in the description below a recent article we wrote about Emergency Breakup 101. So that just ran through a few small tips for people in relation to what to do in the aftermath of a breakup when you're feeling your worst. So you might want to check that article out in the description. Please leave any responses below for people who are facing a breakup. If you can help them with your experience, what you did to overcome your breakup or survive the breakup. I mean, sometimes it's a matter of just surviving and doing the best you can. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about doing everything right. Don't even worry about advice. Just worry about surviving through that period. And then after some time, you can take on some of these tips. But if anyone's got some information below on their particular way that they handled the breakup, even what not to do is also helpful for some people, not just what to do. That would be very much appreciated. We appreciate all the responses we get and all of the help that we get for other people. So thanks again for your time. Please join us at menPsyche.com for more conversations, questions and answers. We hope to see you there.